order on September 7th, 2022, special board meeting at the Woodford County Board of Education office and available via video teleconference. All board members are present, 1 in person and 4 virtually. Item number 1 on the regular agenda is builder's risk insurance. And David Livingston from Houchins Insurance and Mr. Smith are here to give us their recommendation. Do you have a preference on who goes first?
Mr. Livingston, can you go first?
Yeah, okay, that's fine. So we, first off, I want to apologize for the timing and having to have a special meeting. We just began working with you all full-time back in April, May, and so we're working on getting, and then Mr. Smith came in a little bit later after that. So hopefully we're on a timing schedule now that we won't have to do this in the future now that we've got everything going to be wrapped up and on a regular basis. So your new school that we took out for a builder's risk, we went to 6 carriers and received 7 responses. And I believe that everyone received this.
It's attached.
It's attached. Okay. Okay. So you can see everything that was returned, and our recommendation based on the coverages and the reputation of the carriers in the marketplace is in the first column, which is Chubb. They typically have some better line item coverages, and their deductible is a little bit more, but overall, we work with them a lot on the inland marine, on the builder's risk side, and have had better experiences with them in the past should a claim occur. This policy is for a 2-year term for the term of building the school. It's a scenario where if the project went a little long, knock on wood, it doesn't, that we could actually extend this out month by month if we needed to.
At the same rate or like a prorated?
At the same, yeah, prorated for each month, yes. So.
And the project will go a little longer.
Yeah.
Sure, they always do.
They always do. And if you also look towards the bottom, subjectivities, you'll see all of the carriers essentially had subjectivities that you would have to meet. They would put the policy into effect, but then you would have to meet the subjectivities. And if you didn't meet those, the premium was adjustable, or they could give you a cancellation date 30 days out, which is a whole problem. And Chubb does not require any subjectivities to you to meet. What you see here is what the premium and the coverages are.
All right, Mr. Smith, do you have anything to add or?
The only thing I would add is that after reviewing these policies, I would agree with Mr. Livingston that we should, I would recommend that we would accept the Chubb policy for coverage.
All right, do any board members have any questions? Ms. Glass, we'll just kind of go around in the order you show up on our screen. Ms. Glass? No? Ms. Springate?
I did have a couple questions. Does the construction manager have general liability insurance, or do we have general liability insurance? How does that work?
So the construction manager, they would carry general liability insurance. They would carry the general liability, they would carry the work comp for their workers, they would carry auto for their workers, and then they would have requirements to enforce on the subcontractors to also carry the coverages that have been set forth.
And do we know if they do have that? Is that required in Kentucky?
Well, workers' compensation is required in Kentucky, and that would be a question for the construction manager as to exactly what they're requiring their subs to carry. And I do know the company Trace Creek, and I know that they do a very good job typically to collect certificates of insurance to verify that the subcontractors are carrying the correct coverages. Also, what you'll find on a project the size of a high school, typically they're going to be larger companies anyway, so they're going to be well-known, long-standing, and have well-written policies, because typically smaller contractors don't bid on programs like this, and so you're going to find them to be larger contractors that are carrying the correct coverages.
Okay, well, I just don't know if there's any way we can make sure that they have the general liability insurance and what that kind of covers. Um, if they do have the general liability insurance, is there still a need for us to get this builder risk insurance, or what does this builder's risk insurance cover that the general liability wouldn't?
Well, general liability only covers the negligence of the insured. So it would cover any negligence that Trace Creek has. With regards to the builder's risk, it covers your building that's being constructed from the day ground is turned till the project is finished, till you get your certificate of occupancy. So if you got into the project and had spent $60 million and a tornado comes through and wipes out that building, the builder's risk is what's going to cover that building to be rebuilt again.
Okay, and it wouldn't be covered with just our regular insurance?
No, ma'am, you cannot put a construction project onto your regular policy. It's required to buy a builder's risk.
Gotcha. And then my other question is, of the quotes, it looked like there were some that were not as expensive. That quote looks like it's coming in at a little over $98,000. Travelers was 94. Great American was 93.9, and another Great American, for some reason there were two from Great American, that was 88,800. Is there a reason that we went with one that was more expensive versus just the least expensive option?
Well, if you look through the list of coverages, so if you look at column A, and then you look at each carrier is providing different levels of coverage on a lot of the lines. And on the majority of those lines, Chubb is carrying the highest coverage, the best coverage.
So you think that it's worth about 10,000 more to get the that different level of coverage? And then you said for the bottom part where it talks about the subjectives, there are none. So you think that $10,000 difference is worth it for those reasons?
Yeah, because if you didn't have a satisfactory loss prevention survey, or there was some compliance that you couldn't comply with on loss control recommendations, then that carrier, Great American, could actually issue you a cancellation, or there could be a stipulation within it that your deductibles could be different, or your premium could increase based on being able to meet those subjectivities. There's also another part in here too, where on debris removal, the Great American's 25% of direct physical loss, and Chubb is the same, but they're also up to 10 million. So if you only had 25% of the direct physical loss, you may be short a little coverage on the Great American compared to the Chubb.
Okay. And then my last question is just for Mr. Smith. Where's this money coming from to pay for this?
Yeah, so there's if I'm not mistaken, 180,000 or 181,000 set aside on the BG one for the builder's risk insurance. So that was budgeted for there.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, Ms. Richardson?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Ms. McHale?
No other questions from me. Thank you.
So I have only one question. I'm certain that we are covered. With the proximity to the middle school, if we were to have kids that go to a building site and get hurt, we are covered completely.
Your general liability will apply to where you're building.
Okay.
But the builder's risk is to take care of the building. There's not a liability coverage built into this. This is just strictly property only. And so your liability would go over into any of the property that you own, so.
Okay.
And then at that point too, it would be a matter of, was the site secured correctly? I mean, they're gonna pull in you, the subs, the CM, so.
I just think about
Yeah.
kids walking home
Right.
and
Right.
the process.
Mischief.
Make sure we're safe. All right, is there a motion to approve coverage from Chubb as described by Mr. Livingston and recommended by Mr. Smith?
So moved.
There's a motion by Ms. McHale, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Glass, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
There's a motion by Ms. McHale, I'll second that. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.